Welcome to the Metro Talk. The Metro Talk brings the latest, top-breaking news on politics and current affairs in India and around the world, cricket, sports, business, and entertainment. All the news that you need. Worst storm in decades buries Western New York, disrupting travel across the U.S.A. and Canada. There is an emergency in the USA. Crazy blizzard in Buffalo, New York, and snowstorm in Michigan.
It's crazy out here. Welcome to Buffalo.
Buffalo, one of the snowiest towns in the country, takes pride in its ability to withstand harsh winter conditions. However, the city and region were still suffering from a severe and sweeping blizzard that pounded sections of the country last week and devastated western New York, leaving hundreds stranded in their cars and trapped in homes imprisoned in 6-foot drifts on Saturday. At least 3 individuals died in Erie County, 2 of them because emergency services were unable to arrive quickly enough. Whiteout conditions caused roads to become so clogged with snow that even snowploughs were unable to clear them. This may turn out to be the deadliest storm in our community's history, topping the renowned blizzard of '77 in fury, Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz said on Saturday. As darkness set, emergency personnel who had already performed scores of rescues on Friday and early Saturday were still removing individuals from cars. Some residents were preparing to spend another night without power at home, with no secure way to seek shelter elsewhere. In one example, a doctor had to call a lady through her labor and give her sister advice on how to deliver the baby. According to the website poweroutage.us, which gathers information on power outages, about 28,000 consumers in the Buffalo region were still without power as of 4 a.m. Sunday. Utility personnel were scheduled to repair several electricity substations by Saturday night, but Mr. Poloncarz warned that some may not be operational until late Monday. Blizzard conditions were expected to remain overnight until subsiding Sunday morning, according to officials. Forecasters predicted unusually cold temperatures ranging from 15 to 25 degrees below average over the eastern United States on Christmas Day. The storm's unique duration exacerbated its devastation, since it hit densely populated areas and raged all day Friday and all day Saturday. Winds blew mounds of snow up to 6 feet high, burying front porches and parked cars. Mr. Poloncarz added that in the hardest-hit communities, including as Buffalo, Cheektowaga, Lancaster, and Williamsville, 2/3 of emergency personnel became stranded and were unable to reach victims. County officials urged residents to remain in their homes, even if they lacked heat or power, and asked the National Guard to aid with rescue operations. The Buffalo-Niagara International Airport will be closed until Monday, according to New York Governor Kathy Hochul. As the weather became more severe and the need for shelters became more pressing, emergency workers resorted to utilizing snowploughs to move some citizens to shelters. Ms. Hochul said, "Everyone's like, oh, you're from Buffalo, you're accustomed to this," said Tommy Ballant, 37, who left his Buffalo home short Saturday morning to check on neighbor. However, you can't get used to it. On Saturday, Americans in several states confronted the chilly aftermath of a 4-day blizzard that knocked out electricity to 1.5 million homes and businesses at its peak. The powerful weather system, a bomb cyclone with high winds exacerbated by a clash of air masses, disrupted travel plans for tens of thousands, forcing many to spend Christmas without heat, electricity, or family members' companionship. Temperatures dropped into the single digits across the central, southern, and eastern states as the massive weather system raced north into Canada, bringing freezing Arctic air with it. The cold set Christmas Eve records in various cities around the country, including Baltimore, where the temperature dropped to 8 degrees, and Bluefield, West Virginia, where it dropped to -9. On Saturday, the storm's fourth day, millions of people were still under winter storm or blizzard warnings. According to poweroutage.us, 500,000 households and businesses were still without power across the East Coast at lunchtime Saturday. By the end of the day, the figure had dropped to 320,000. Maine was the most hit, with 162,000 people without power. Some seaside homeowners in New York City were also considering departing for Christmas after Friday's storm surge caused major flooding in the Rockaways, swamping basement apartments, according to Queens Borough President Donovan Richards Jr. The storm was responsible for at least 17 deaths, including a dozen in automobile accidents in 4 states. A 51-year-old lady was killed by a falling tree near Castleton, Vermont, according to local authorities. A 54-year-old man died of hypothermia in the Chicago region, according to a Cook County Medical Examiner spokesperson. According to Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, a homeless person died while attempting to build a fire to stay warm. Cities and towns erected warming shelters and fire stations and school gymnasiums as the cold gripped them, and citizens sought shelter, some after spending Friday night in unheated houses, cuddled beneath blankets and packed around fireplaces in the dark. Chantel Moncrief and her husband tried to sleep in their apartment in South Nashville on Friday night, covered in sweaters and blankets, after a day without power. Too cold to sleep, they got into their car at 2 a.m. and drove to her mother's house at 6 a.m. "We were all wrapped up," Ms. Moncrief, 24, explained. "It simply wasn't enough." According to FlightAware, a service that tracks flight data, about 8,000 flights in the United States were affected on Saturday due to the storm. Many others who planned to travel by car were foiled because of icy roads, highway closures, and travel bans. More than 50 flights were canceled Saturday morning at New York's LaGuardia Airport, forcing passengers to spend Christmas Eve at the airport or in nearby hotels. Misty and Dan Ellis arrived at the airport at 3 a.m. with their teenage children to check in. Their flight was canceled hours later, and each member of the family was rebooked on a different flight, according to Mr. Ellis. Instead, the family opted to rent a car and drive 14 hours to their home in Nashville. The cost would be hefty, Mr. Ellis said, but he did not mind paying it. "We'll be home together for Christmas," he remarked. Thousands of utility workers and plow drivers faced another long night of labor to restore power and clean roads as darkness descended in western New York on Saturday and temperatures dropped considerably lower. With more snow expected and travel bans still in effect, stores were virtually empty of last-minute shoppers, and streets were mostly silent. For those who were still out in the dangerous conditions, home seemed a world away, no matter how close it was. Frank Anderson, 50, got stopped in deep snow in his large white pickup vehicle for the second time since finishing his job as a prison guard on Saturday. Still wearing his work jacket with a New York State Corrections and Community Supervision emblem on the left sleeve and only a spare sweater in the back seat, he found his truck stuck on Hurdle Avenue, his tires spinning on ice, as he tried to get back to his wife and 3 children in time for Christmas. He was roughly a mile from home in the Tonawanda suburbs. "I'm going to miss Christmas with my people," he added, the truck and heat still on as he sat inside in the middle of the snow-covered road. "I'm not walking home," he added. "I'll be fine if I have to sleep here."